joy in the twilight years. Now, for those of you who are in their 30s or in their 40s or even in their 50s, you all would have come across elders in your life, whether they are your grandparents, whether they are your parents. And many of the time you might have wondered just how much more can we make them feel comfortable, make them feel loved. First thing they require is your proximity and how much of time you're able to spend with them. It means a lot to them. Maintain frequent contact. For those of you who have your grandparents, who have your parents, or even your elderly aunts and uncles living away from you, you may not be able to meet them all the time, but you can definitely contact them, keep in touch with them. They highly value the contact and speaking to their loved ones. Get them involved in day-to-day activities. Give them a sense of purpose every day. Make sure you're able to speak to them about subjects which may also interest them. Now with free calling devices or apps, it's so much more easier to keep connection with them. Is the home safe enough for them? Do they have rods, for example, in their bedrooms or wherever they need support? Is the home ready to make sure that they do not get into accidents and they do not come into harm? Coordinating family visits, especially now that we are facing the pandemic, it isn't easy. But there are always other ways that you can keep in touch with them. One is, of course, obviously through the video calls. How often do you call them? Do you make it a point to call them regularly? Do you wish them on their special days? Or does work keep you away from doing that? Please think about it. Frequent communication is very, very crucial here, because even if you have household help with your loved elderly folks, it's still important that you have frequent communication with them. How are we able to think of ways in helping them lead a more better life? The first thing in this context will be, like I had mentioned earlier, is about visiting them. And when I talked about visiting them, it's also like the case I had mentioned earlier, to prevent abuse. And the elders may not have anyone to talk about their abuse to. So please make sure you are having a very good connection with your elders. The other thing is, your visits can also help you understand the state of their health, safety, and well-being. And it keeps them emotionally engaged. So although we are all aware about how important it is to visit them and make them feel loved, we need to consider just how much of it do we actually do in reality. Ideally, do not try to reason with them, because it is not because they wish to think in the way they do. It is because they are having no other choice except think in that manner because of their dysfunctional issues with their brain. So have sympathy, have patience, have tolerance, and speak to them. So in case they are talking about something which was happening way, many years ago, you need not correct them and tell them, oh, but that was years ago, Dad or Mom. That was years ago. They all have passed away. You are here with me. Please do not do that. As much as possible, try to make them feel comfortable. Try to tell them and say things which can make them happy at that point of time. When you find that they could be irrational, make sure you find out a little bit in depth about their condition, their physical health, their mental health. How sound is it? Do they have issues? And are issues getting worse? So it's very important to find out the condition and what we can do in order to help them so that they are as comfortable as possible. The other thing is, it's important that we prioritize reassurance rather than explanation about facts. Make them feel reassured. And if they are living with you, hug them. Show them through physical forms of affection that they mean a lot to you. If we are talking about Ikigai, we have to talk about Japan. And in Japan, the secret to living a longer, happier, and more fulfilled life can be summed up in one word. That's Ikigai. In Japanese, Iki means to live, Gai means to reason. In other words, your reason to live. What is it about Ikigai that still makes the whole world feel fascinated by this word? The Ikigai way of life is especially known to prevail in the island of Okinawa, Japan. Why so? Because apparently those who live on that island, they are known to belong to those who have the longest lifespans, and they have the highest rates of centenarians on their island. For most of us, I wouldn't say all of us, most of us, we divide our life into two segments. One is, of course, our working life, and the other one is, of course, our retirement life. In Okinawa, there isn't even a word for retirement. Instead, there is simply Ikigai, which means the reason for which you get up every morning. I'd like to ask all of you who are attending this session today, how many of you really believe in Ikigai? And today, are you following the concept of Ikigai in your life? Think about it. A lot of us have got challenges when it comes to self-acceptance. There are always areas we need to work on, we need to improve on. And that tends to take away the ability to accept ourselves for who we are. It could be for our strengths, for, of course, the areas that require improvement, whatever it be. How much are we able to accept ourselves? That also makes a difference to the quality and approach to life. The joy of small things, in here and now. Right at this moment, I'm speaking to all of you. And as far as I'm concerned, I am really happy to see all of you who have joined me today, and you're sharing your wisdom with me also when I'm asking you something. So it's a very, very happy moment for me. And I'm enjoying, treasuring this very minute. So being in here and now is a concept which also enhances our Ikigai understanding. The other one is, of course, very obvious, but need not always be the case. It's about being polite. Because sometimes what they might be communicating with us may not be something which is agreeable in every sense based on our philosophy of life. But maintaining politeness is very, very important. So, of course, that is spending time and being polite, of course, asking for advice when necessary. When there are certain times when you know that this is something which I just want to speak to my parents about, or my mom or my dad, something very specific, and that advice is something which you know only they would be able to provide. So never hesitate on that. And of course, it doesn't mean that everything you take their advice. No, you need to obviously start developing your own convictions. But there are always things that when you seek their advice, it's extremely valuable. Eating together, discussing family traditions, history, and heritage also not only enables us to know about our past, about our culture, but they are linking us to our ancestors whom we never knew, but who come alive through our elders because they talk about them, they talk about the memories they have had with them.
Sometimes, like with my parents, I try to suggest things that I think would be interesting to them or engaging, or which they would find it interesting to do. Sometimes they give it a chance, but most of the times they are kind of reluctant to give it a try, or to go visit some place, or say that no, we are fine without, we don't have to go there, we are fine being at home. So it's not to push them, but I just feel that, you know, uh, they can find something good if they go to these fun things, or but it's something that I don't understand, that is it something that I should push, or I should understand and, you know, not say too much about it.
I would like to tell you at this stage is, if you are living with them, it is still possible for you to encourage them. And maybe if you want to show a place, book the trip and take them with you. So that, you know, they are unlikely to show reluctance, because you're just telling, okay, let's go and so day. If they say, oh, we are sorry, we are busy that day. Okay, let me know the next possible date and then we can go. And you're taking the initiative and just taking them. But when you are living away from your family or away from your parents, there are limitations to how much you can tell them about a suggestion. Because the more and more you tell them, they might not appreciate it. So ideally, if you want to do something for them, which you know for a fact will make them happy, it's best done when you're visiting them.